The Avignon Papacy is a significant part of the Catholic Church's history that rarely gets discussed. So here's a brief summary. My nigger. In the early 14th century, there rose conflict between Pope Boniface VIII and this retarded-looking French ginger spiritual Jew named King Philip IV. Phil had problems with papal authority because he was a little bitch boy and wanted to exert influence on the appointment of bishops. Pope Boniface obviously did not vibe with that, and this conflict ultimately culminated in the arrest of the Pope, where he was abused by agents of the king. Though he was released, his mistreatment caused him to fall seriously ill, and he died in 1303. The next pope was Pope Benedict XI, who wanted to address corruption within the church and ease tensions between the church and secular leaders. However, he tragically died after only 8 months in office, and his successor was a Frenchman named Pope Clement V. Clement refused to move to Rome due to various factors, including the potential of exposing himself and the church to violence and instability, mainly due to the volatile political situation in Italy at the time, but also because of pressure from the douche nozzle King Philip, who once again was at the very least a spiritual Jew. So in 1309, the papacy was relocated from Rome to Avignon, France. Avignon was chosen as a strategic location, offering many benefits. Mainly, it was favorable for both the king and the pope, as it was located within the French crown's territory, as well as its close geographical proximity to the papal territories in southern France, which allowed for easier communication and administration of the church's affairs in the region. Avignon was also located at the crossroads of major trade routes and served as a commercial and cultural hub in medieval Europe, making it easily accessible to clergy and diplomats. When this move occurred, the clergy did their best to preserve and transport, or safely store any important church documents and artifacts that were in Rome, but unfortunately, some were either stolen or lost. Some niggers felt that the move from Rome to Avignon was placing the spiritual heart of Christendom under the shadow of the French crown. The move faced a lot of criticism from both the church and European powers. People said that it made the papacy look like it was controlled by secular interests instead of spiritual ones. They even called it the Babylonian captivity of the church, comparing it to when the Israelites were exiled, which symbolized being spiritually trapped. Despite the criticism, Avignon became a center of culture and learning. Scholars, artists and theologians came there because of the papal court, and they exchanged ideas that led to advances in art, literature, and theology. Avignon became known for its creativity and new ideas, but there were problems too. Being away from Rome for so long made people in Rome and the clergy unhappy. They wanted the Pope to come back to Rome. Pope Gregory XI finally listened and moved the papal court back to Rome in 1377. This was seen as a win for tradition, and it made people feel more at ease about the papacy's connection to its history. Even though the papacy moved back to Rome after 67 years, the Avignon period still had a lasting effect. It gave way to a series of anti-popes, as well as showing that the papacy could potentially be influenced by politics. This sparked debates about the Pope's power and how much say he should have in worldly matters. This led to reforms and more oversight, which shaped how the church would run for years to come. Lastly, I'd like to address some criticisms about this period that many Eastern Orthodox fags like to use. They claim that the relocation to Avignon made the papacy appear to be subservient to secular interests, but this isn't the case. The position of the papacy remained intact, and the Pope retains his spiritual and doctrinal authority, regardless of his physical location. While there was political pressure on the church from secular authorities, especially during Avignon papacies, the church teachings and doctrines remained unchanged. Popes make decisions based on their understanding of the church's mission and spiritual welfare, and has always affirmed the importance of maintaining autonomy from secular authorities, not to mention that the Holy Spirit protects the church from ever falling into error, and to ever put that fact in doubt is, indeed, heretical silly goose nonsense. We as Catholics can acknowledge that the Avignon situation was a unique and challenging period in church history, but the decision to move to Avignon was a response to the complex socio-political realities of the time. Despite the challenges, the church continued to fulfill its mission of spreading the gospel, guiding the faithful, and administering the sacraments. Cope and seethe orthocux.